Hello to all, Victor here. We have a little while before we're scheduled to go live, so I'm just gonna chat a little about everything. I'm in Portugal, and things are still going pretty well. Sadly, Sophia, my girlfriend and training partner, had to leave. She has her first ice camp coming up, which is nice in that way. It's a little hard because I know I'll miss her a lot, but it's for the better. She has a 2-week quarantine when she gets home, so even though her campus is only in June, hey, she had to go home now so she could have those 2 weeks on her own. I asked previously on YouTube what should today's topic be. Hey G, how's it going? Nice to see you with us. What today's topic should be, and there's a lot of really good suggestions. If you want to make sure that I bring your topic up in the next chat, you can super chat, click the $sign, and your comment is going to be highlighted. I'll note it down, and the next live stream is going to be me trying to answer your question. So if there's anything really specific that you want me to take a look at, I'll make sure to go over that in the next live stream. But for today, we are, as the picture at the beginning of the video shows, we're gonna look at how to pick the right skates and how to smoothly transfer from either fitness skates that are like commonly known by all skaters, or if you're already on sort of a speed skate or a more, I wouldn't say a professional skate, but skates that are more for more for the speed than for the fun of it, even though the speed is the fun of it, if you ask me. We're gonna look at how you can make that transfer smoothly. So just want to let you all know before we get too far into this, if you start writing stuff down or whatever, I have made a blog post kinda. It's a Google Drive document. I also copied the whole text in the description below. So after this video, you can take a look down there and basically read my thoughts on what equipment you should pick and what thoughts you should go through and have before you choose your speed skates. So the topic itself is how. Hey, yeah, let me know where you're from. Let me know who's watching. It's time to go live now, so I'll just go ahead. And I want to remind everybody that the reason I do this as a live stream and not just upload a YouTube video on how to choose the right skate is because I really want to hear your questions, and as the title indicates, this is Привет, Igor. This is more like a lesson than a YouTube video. So if you have any questions, I really make this to try and answer those questions and make sure that I can help the most people pick the right equipment and basically just have a lot of fun skating and skate as fast as they will be able to. If you like what I make, you can leave a super chat. That's going to be a donation that's going to go straight to me, and that's going to help me out personally as an athlete. I'm a full-time professional athlete and Olympian. I'm right now training for the next Olympic Games in 2022, and it's also going to help me buy some better equipment. I've been looking at some microphones, especially when I do outdoor footage. There's a lot of wind. So I've been saving up for that. So if you want to help me out, you can super chat anytime during the live. And if you need help with your trainings, I made an online training program. It's a 12-week program for inline skaters. It's in the description down below, so you can take a look at that if you want to. And that's about it. So let's get started. So the overall topic is how can you go from a high cut skate to a speed skate. I brought my own speed skates for the video. I'll try and demonstrate different things. I don't know if that's gonna help at all, but it's here. So if that becomes necessary, I'll bring that up. So I'm gonna go through some of the pros and the cons of having speed skates and having high fitness skates, as they're called. And then I'm also gonna talk a little about semi-speed skates that I'm not a big fan of, and I'm gonna explain why I think people should try and avoid those, because I believe they're gonna create a lot of bad habits instead of helping you where you want to be, unless your final ultimate goal is just to be good at semi-speed skates. Alright, so the reason why fitness skates are great, the reason why that's what they sell if you go down to your local sports store, is because they have more support, they give you more stability, they're really comfortable. You have like a massive sock that you can put your skate or your feet into. So in that way, they're easier, and it takes very little, almost no practice at all to be able to put them on and go have a good time with your friends out skating. There's obviously some reasons why you want to switch to speed skates as soon as you become a bigger fan of skating, and as soon as you want to go faster, because they are faster. Speed skates, most importantly, they can have bigger wheels, which gives you more roll. So you can mount bigger wheels, and that's going to make you roll faster. Trust me, if you go for if you are already a speed skater and you try and put fitness skates on, you're going to realize it's a whole different cardio workout than what you expected it to be. So they roll better, and they also give you more flexibility. They give you better options of using your entire leg. It's really hard to get in that 90-degree knee bend position and push effectively if your skates are this tall, because you won't be able to, say, pretend this is my leg. You won't be able to get the knee far forward and have that bend, because this is gonna be kind of limiting my whole ankle flexibility. So I won't be able to get down into that speed skating position. I won't have the big wheels to ensure a fast roll. And then there's the crossovers. Hey Shruti, how's it going? You can crossover probably with high skates, with fitness skates. I would also say you can crossover probably with semi-speed skates. And that is a very good reason to try and get some of these low speed skates. Again, everything I say, I wrote the headlines in the description below. I put some links. Those are to my own online skating store, where I have listed all the skates that I believe are the best ones on the market. So there's also links to the skates that I suggest. It all depends your level, but there's a description of that as well. So it should be a pretty nice way to go to. Anyways, the crossover takes, first of all, you need to be able to get that bend to be able to push your knees out in front of the skate, so you can't just be upright in it. And also, you need to be able to flex on the sides of it, because to do the crossover, there's a lot of small movements down here in the angle. It takes more stability and really that flexibility. But with more flex also comes the risk of caving in with the knees, of not having the ankle strength to stay upright. And I believe that lack of ankle strength is what scares a lot of people, and what makes a lot of people buy these semi-speed skates or semi-high skates. I know there's some popular brands. Powerslide have them. They're called C or R34. Bond has some semi-speed skates. I believe they might be of good quality, but I really think that people that buy those are people that are trying to make it smoother to go onto speed skates, and it's really just going to postpone that moment where you're going to get to that problems with stability of your ankles. I have a photo of myself from when I was 12 years old, got my, maybe even younger, 10 years old, got my first speed skates, and I'm doing a crossover, and this actually touches the ground because my ankles were so weak. I still there and turned out to be a pretty decent skater, and I think, yeah, like everything else, the first time you do Dryland, you're going to be sore the day after. It's not going to look pretty, but that's how you learn it. So I believe that practice makes perfect, and it also goes for this. So don't try and give yourself extra habits from other equipment that won't make you go fast. So I believe that when you feel not ready for it necessarily, but the second you want to go fast, you should get some low-cut speed skates. Then once that's been said, there's definitely some things you want to take care of, and that you should be really aware of once you go and invest in speed skates, and when you try and make this transition from high-cut fitness skates into speed skates. I'm not saying that just because you skip this semi-high speed skates, you should go straight into world champions pro speed skates. There's different ways that you can try and make up for this demands for extra stability that comes with speed skates. And one of them is the wheel size. So another reason, as I said, there's no stability or way less stability around the angles, so it takes more of you to try and keep that skate straight. so you're not skating on the inside or the outside. One of them is that you want to make sure that you have your frame in the correct position. First off, I always suggest to everybody, to put the frame right in the middle under the skate, because there's a reason that's the middle of it, because that would just be statistically where people would feel comfortable. But as you can see, I also have tape under my skates, because I try and adjust, and I put this tape, see, like that's where I had them the last workout. If I do turns, if I do straightaways, what feels better when I get really tired, when I also get tired, when I can't keep it up straight. Do I fall a little to the inside? Do I fall a little to the outside? And that's why I got this tape here. So let's say this morning my workout wasn't too hard. I just skated for 27 kilometers and it was pretty chill. If it had been a 50-kilometer skate, I just came over through maybe the inside or the outside. It could be both. Then I would go home, I would see where I put my tape, and I would adjust it a little to the inside. Most people, by far, have the bad habit or just the lack of strength to maintain it in an upright position, and they cave in. So you put this tape on before you go for a skate, and you can adjust. So that's one thing you want to do when you switch over to speed skates from fitness skates. The second thing is that you should make sure that the wheels are not too big. So lack of this stability, because it's a low-cut skate, will... Can't hear you sometimes because of the wind. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Like I mentioned at the beginning, I will take all the super chat money and I'm gonna buy a really sweet microphone and a tripod that has like an integrated stabilizer, and I hope that'll make these videos a little better. So you can support me anytime using the super chat function. In the chat there's a $sign, but I'm really sorry. Until then, I promise to make it better as soon as I can. So what you can do is to make up for this extra stability that it'll take to keep this upright and to ensure that power transfer from legs and body into the ground, is to make the wheel smaller. Making the wheel smaller, it's not going to be so far off the ground, and it's just going to be easier to stay on the top of it and to control it. And yeah, I know smaller wheels usually means going slower, but if you come from a fitness skate into this speed skate, you might want to go slower first. Sorry about the wind. I'll try and speak up louder. It's a little annoying, I know. I hope you can hear it. If not, super chat, I'll buy better equipment. That's all I can do for now. So smaller wheels brings you closer to the ground. And one thing you also want to look into is the frames. Some frames are better than others, and by better there's a lot of different ways you can define that, but one of them that is really important for this matter is that you get closer to the ground. As you can see here, even though this is pretty close, there is still some space in between here. So you want to find a frame that's closer to the skate, can also bring you closer to the ground and help you stabilize around those angles and make you more efficient. So that's one way of making up for it. There's also some frames, you can check that out. It's also on the links below, Top Skate, if you look on frames or section. High-low frames that are basically normal. If we take 110 millimeter wheels, this is a 3-wheel frame on 4-wheel frames. The second wheel here is usually the one that limits how low you can get the skate towards the frame. So that's going to be the one that'll end up touching the skate, so limiting you to get lower to the ground. On high-low skates, the second wheel is gonna be smaller than the rest of them. So let's say these are 110 millimeters, the second wheel would be 100. And given that that's the limiting factor, you can still have 3 of those big wheels, and it's only the second wheel that's gonna be a little smaller, but that's gonna bring you closer to the ground, which is really nice and comfortable, trust me. Especially if you're doing turns, if you're a smaller skater who doesn't have the strongest legs yet, it's also going to be a lot easier to push. It's going to be easier to lift them off the ground because they're simply just, it's going to be smoother. Also, smaller wheels are lighter, which is definitely good, especially if you're a small skater size-wise, or if you're a young skater. That's really a good thing to make sure that your wheels are not too heavy. I've seen way too many kids or adolescents that skate on too heavy a setup or too big wheels at an early age. And that, unlike going directly to speed skates that I suggest, I definitely wouldn't suggest anybody to start out with big wheels. So instead of going for like semi-solutions, semi-high skates, just go straight into the speed skates, find some that have good stability in the ankles that are extra firm, but not extra tall. Firm skates. Well, deciding factor, I'm not sure I understand that question. There's multiple factors, like stiffness, lightness, and then how high off or how far off the ground the frame is going to get you. Um, those will be pretty important to both. But yeah, so go off with smaller wheels and get as close to the ground as you can, but go for speed skates. Find some that are extra stable. Put a link below. I believe it's Strahd's. The Simon skates are really firm yet comfortable, and the Trinity frame. I believe that's a decent frame. It's not as light as carbon frames, but it's for sure good enough. I think actually most frames are pretty decent. It's more about the wheel size. Get really close to the ground and do not go for a 3-wheel frame at first. Yes, this is live. Never go for 3 wheels at first. That's a really good point that I wanna go through with. That the more contact points you have with the asphalt, with the ground you're skating on, it's simply just gonna be easier to change directions and to control the frames. A really easy way to figure this out is if you put a 4-wheel frame on, take the 2 wheels in the middle off, and that is gonna be incredibly uncomfortable, and it's really not great. So the more wheels, the better. I don't want you to put a 5-wheel frame on if you can go back and find some retro stuff, because that's gonna be too long for you. But definitely 4 wheels instead of 3 in the beginning, and don't go for big wheels. Speed is gonna come, and like I said, I've spent my whole life skating. I'm a professional skater, and I still can definitely feel that I skate worse when I'm on 3 wheels than 4 wheels, simply because they're just harder to steer. So at first, go with 4 wheels. I wrote down a few more points. Feel free to ask questions anytime. If I understand the questions, I'll make sure to answer. Yeah, of course, speed skates are more expensive. That's definitely a con. But it'll be worth the money. It's a lot more fun. Is it possible to add brakes to your frame when you have pro skates like you have? You know, somebody who's not that kind of stuff. Good question from Jared there. Most speed skates, I would say almost all, especially good speed skates, are not designed to have the classic stop brake at the end of it. Like fitness skates that will always have this little block, black block going out the bottom, so you can like lean backwards, lift up, and then it's gonna brake itself. You won't find that, as you can see here, on speed skates. And the reason for this is that speed skates are generally more produced to be worn in closed areas, and they're made to go fast, so that's just inconvenient. It's extra weight, it's not aerodynamic. There's multiple reasons why we don't have it on speed skates, and for sure that's gonna make a lot of people uncomfortable. I made a video that you can check on the channel, how to brake or stop on inline skates. There's 4 different ways that I think people should try and learn, so they know how to stop without those brake blocks at the end of the skates. But no, they usually don't come with that. I do think it's a really important thing to learn how to brake before you get too far into speed skating, because that can be very crucial. So that's part of it. What's the last question we had here? What should frame alignment for road and 200-meter track? It's super individual. Like I mentioned, how the frame should be really comes down to the skater. It comes down to if you have prognation to the inside or the outside, if your knees cave in, cave out, if you have less or more glute strength to be able to like align them. Also, if you skate on the track, you may want to put it a little towards the left. If you look down, like you would see classic and short track skaters, they have it that way. But you've got to remember that there's a lot of straightaways, so I would always go for something neutral, symmetrical. Personally, that's my preference. But try put it right in the middle, and then just feel how the skates are. If they're naturally falling on the inside, outside, then you will adjust it. Long track speed here. Oof, really good question from Adrian Ferrar. If you're a long track skater, this goes for myself, so this is something I actually spent a lot of time figuring out, and I have over the last six years tried different ways, really to figure out what works the best. If you're a long track skater, should you do long track technique, try and imitate the ice technique on inlines in the summer, or should you go for the classic double push technique on inlines? I think both will work. There's definitely different advantages to doing both, actually. Well, of course, if you do like a long track speed skater, you're gonna target those muscle groups that you use on the ice more specifically, so that's a big pro. I think it's also much easier mentally to visualize, and for sure it's gonna be easier to transfer onto the ice. However, if you get a lot of time on the ice in the winter, I think you will have sufficient time to adapt. But yeah, it's definitely gonna work those ice skating muscles more. It's gonna make you it's just gonna be closer to ice skating, so more specific, which is great in that way. Once that said, ice skating is harder on the body, so if you're looking to do it more as a cardiovascular workout, you can inline skate with a double push for hours at high speed and still be a human afterwards. To get a good workout in, physically workout in, I would go for inline skating. So for me, I do inline skating technique once or twice a week, and long track technique 2 to 4 times a week when I'm out inline skating. But whenever I focus on the technique, it's always long track. And where I am now, I'm in Portugal. I have great options to bike outside. I usually get most of my bike workouts. That's where I get my cardio shape, my physical shape. So when I'm inlining, I do long track technique, I'd say 3 out of 4 times. So yeah. Is there any questions? Otherwise, what wheels and frames do you prefer personally? Skating marathons. Personally, I prefer, but that's also because I have I put performance of no worries. That was a good question, actually. It's a very complicated question. I think many people have different ideas about that. But this is what I found to work the best, and what most of my colleagues that have the same background, that they also, that's also how they work. So Arne K, what wheels and frames do you prefer personally skating marathons? I am very focused on the performance when I skate marathons, especially if they're competitive. So for inline skating, I would go with 3 times 125, but I have been skating my whole life, and I still skate daily, if not twice a day. So I feel like I developed somewhat sufficient technique to be efficient on 3 times. Yeah, so I prefer 3 times 125 because it is, to most people that have been skating for long, it is going to be faster. There's going to be more of a roll. I have done some testing with heart rate monitors to compare my effort, compare that to the speed when at cruising speed, and at the same speed my heart rate is almost, I think it's 10 beats lower when wearing three wheels 125 millimeters. So for sure it's going to be, you're gonna consume less energy to maintain the same speed on 3 times 125. So that would be my setup. I have Sierra custom skates, but I think if I was to get new skates, I would go for Simmons. That's also, like I said, I have my own skating store, online web shop, that I put some links below in the description. You can also just contact me on Instagram or Facebook. Have some fan pages there. And I'll try and help you out with equipment if you want some help with that. But the Simmons skates are really good. Also for the price, they're incredibly stiff and pretty comfortable for how good they are performance-wise. So I'm a big fan of those. I know most of my friends, the co-owner of the company I run, Magnus Simmons, my teammate Joey Mantia, has been really happy about Simmons, even though they're standard skates for some of them. I know that the Mulders, world champions on inline and ice, also like them. So I would suggest Simmons skates. But yeah, there's a link below, so you can check that out. But for now, I'm on Sierra custom skates. I had the same skates for more than 10 years, so I can't complain about the quality of them. And then I strongly believe that EO carbon frames are the best frames. They're just so much lighter than everything else, and once you've been on them, it's hard to go back. I promise you that. So they're great. Do you prefer Morton boot, Takino or Simontrana? I would prefer Simontrana. I don't have any experience with Takino, so I can't really comment on that. Do you inline speed skating and ice skating? And Johnny, I'm not quite sure what I mean by that. Oh, it's the Dryland. No, there's some differences. Usually when you do Dryland, so the question is whether you should adapt your technique when doing Dryland or exercises on shoes, I believe. Whether you're an inline skater or ice skater, they're pretty similar. I would always do more dynamic stuff if the purpose is to become a better inline skater, and if the purpose is to become a better ice skater, I would do more statical stuff, so less movements in the exercises. And that's just because how the sport works. Long track is long, smooth, powerful movements, where inline is more dynamic and rapid strokes. So yeah, there's some differences in that way, but to a large extent I would go with the same exercises. I mean, there's a reason why inline speed skaters can adapt to ice skating and the other way around and be good at it, so it's very similar. But yeah, to sum up the whole skating talk and how to make the transfer from high fitness skates to go on to speed skates, do it early. Just face it that it's going to be a little difficult. Oh, thanks a lot, G. Thanks for the super chat. I appreciate everybody that donates to the channel. That's part of what makes me do this. I do this out of my own pocket, and I'm having a whole lot of fun doing it. So whenever people support, it means a lot to me. But do it. Make that switch, even though it's going to be difficult in the beginning. You're going to feel uncomfortable. But it's for sure going to be worth it, and just face that you have to learn it, and then strength is going to come naturally even though you don't feel comfortable at first. So yeah, if you have the money for it, and if you want to go faster in skates, get some low-cut speed skates right away, and get some that are firm, good stability, but they should be low, because that's the best way to train your angles, and that's what you need to be good on speed skates and good at skating. Start in small wheels, always go with 4 wheels at first, get some frames that are pretty low. You can try high-low, but small wheels, 4 wheels, speed skates, firm, and yeah, it's totally okay to be weak in the angles. That's expected, but there's only one way to get through. That's to learn it the right way, and that's how all skaters did. Unless your goal is to be semi-good at skating, you shouldn't go for semi-skates. You should just jump out into speed skating and get the size of wheels that fit your body and fit your strength. That's about all I had for now. If you have any questions on it, I will make sure to keep the chat running. If you want to super chat, this is your last chance, and then I'll do a little promo for some pretty sweet skating merchandise that I made with my girlfriend Sophia. We basically came up with the most hilarious quotes that we believe that most skaters can relate to, and we printed them on cool t-shirts and hoodies, and people can order those. They're all sizes and colors, and hoodies, tank tops, t-shirts, they're all available, and they're going to be shipped directly to your place, so you can take a look at that. There's like photos and direct links in the description below, and I hope to get my t-shirts. I ordered the latest editions we made for myself and for Sophia, so I hope to get those so I can be able to show them on the live streams from now on. Hey Pasha, cool to have you back. one of our loyal viewers. It's okay to be late. Oh yeah, before leaving you, I will mention that on Friday, this was like a tech talk, or as I call it, skating lessons, where I try and share skating knowledge and just answer questions, a classic Q&A almost, with a pre-decided topic, I guess. But on Friday, there's going to be a live stream of a Dryland workout where you can join me, and it's going to hurt as hell. I promise it's going to be hard. It's going to be 40 minutes where we smash the legs, get some good lactic acid in, and then at the end of it, we're going to do some jumps to try and be productive with the burning legs. Sometimes we need to get exhausted, and it's for sure going to happen at the end of a competition or a race or a really hard workout, and that's when it's complicated to stay technically good, but that's what we're going to work on. If I'm better in Dryland doing rounds curls, but on skates round curls are going fine on the edges. Well, if it's good on Dryland, good on skates, it's all good. Edges. Oh, thanks, Pasha. To the future. I really appreciate Pasha thanking me for ruining his legs on Friday. It'll be a pleasure. I myself, on Friday, I'm gonna jump straight off the skates after a super hard interval workout, and then be with you guys for the jumps. So we're gonna all suffer together. It's gonna be a whole lot of fun. What do we have here? Not going on the edges. Well, then I would really suggest that you try and adjust the frame position under your boots. It's okay. And then try and figure out if your frame should maybe be a little more to the inside, so you're not gonna fall in, but you're gonna stay right on top. So I would go have a look at that. And if not, actually exercises like side extension. I don't know if you can see me. Probably not. But side extension, anything that can activate the side of your glutes here, is what can help you get the knee out, and then you're gonna have a. If you can get the knee out, you're gonna have an angle in the shin, and that way you can have a perfect edge that follows your leg and your whole body. Another way is, I've shown this in the warm-up exercises for the Drylands. We'll like to try and work on that hip strength. If you can move this out, you won't let this fall in. So that should help you get on the edges. And it's always going to be harder on inline skates than on shoes. That's why we practice Dryland first. Differences between inline and ice skating techniques. What must be done differently? Good question. Ice skating is generally shorter distances. There's no marathons, there's no long elimination races or whatsoever, so people tend to stay a little lower. Ice skating generally goes a lot faster. You just glide faster. The movements are slower, and you get slower. Just a second. No, so ice skating is slower movements with more power. You can slip, so you have to be more patient and really put power into the ice. And then generally ice skating is time trials. So that way it's more pacing yourself, and some skaters, the reason I picked ice skating is because you don't need a top speed, and there's not a lot of pack skating, so I like that part of it. But yeah, more power and relaxed movements on the ice, whereas inline is more dynamic, and if you push all you can on inlines, at the end of a push, your skate is just gonna slide away and throw you off. So inline skating, it's better to take more strokes that are not quite as powerful, but whereas on ice skating, you really want to get everything out of it. Also, there's the clap blades, so you can extend a little more on ice skates because the blade kind of detaches at the end of the stroke. Bar swings low as well. Well, if you train enough, you can be low for a long while. Fair point, Pasha. Oh well, somebody said his son needs some tips from me. That's why I'm here. So if there's anything specific you want to know, feel free to ask. Then I'll try and help out. if not, if it's for training, there is my 12-week training plan in the description that you can go have a look at. That's basically what I recommend people to do to get better at inline skating. It doesn't take weightlifting equipment, and you can do it anywhere. So that's kind of what my thought of it was, that it should apply to anybody, regardless of their current level. So the intensity is going to be individualized, which I think is important. If not, you can also reach out to me on Instagram, and I'll help with private coaching. It's a little side business I do. For $100 a month, I make individual programs. I think that's pretty funny, and I think I learned from it as well. It's exciting with different challenges. Some people have a full-time job or have a family and kids, and they need different support and they need other workout plans, whereas if you're a full-time skater, in some ways it's easy because you just have an ideal plan, you adapt it to the skater and it works. Where here is other challenges in the personal life, and you really got to make things fit in. And sometimes the goal is not to like be a world champion, but just to improve from where you stand and be a little more efficient, get the most out of the hours that you spend on the inline skates, and just have a whole lot of fun. So if you want private coaching, you can hit me up on Instagram, and I'll send out some more information if you send me your email. Oh yeah, G has been one of my, I would say, clients or skaters that I coach for several years now, and he did a great job. He's been following my plans and improved so much. That's also something that gives me kind of a kick, that as a skater I can only have that much success, whereas if I coach 10 people, I can have a whole lot of success through them, and share some of their the thrills they get when things are going well. So that's a pretty big deal for me. I enjoy that. Alright, thanks everybody for watching. Friday at 1 p.m. Central European Time. Make sure to be warm because it's gonna hurt. See you soon. If you have any questions after this live stream ends, I'm glad you could use it. If you have any questions before this live stream ends, or after this live stream ends, you are free to comment on this video. If you're not watching it live, I'll make sure to come back and take a look at all the comments and help out. Until then, stay safe and have fun skating, training, and whatsoever.